The story begins with a little girl named Yuli, who is having dinner with her parents. Everything seems normal at first, but suddenly her mother falls terribly ill. It looks as if some dark energy has possessed her body. Her neck stiffens unnaturally, and her skin begins to tear open as sharp nails push out from underneath. Blood starts flowing from her eyes, and the entire scene becomes horrifying. Seeing her mother in this terrifying condition, Yuli screams in fear. Her father quickly locks her inside a room, trying to protect her from whatever is happening outside. From inside the room, Yuli can only hear her father screaming. Suddenly, the lights go out. When Yuli tries to look through the broken door, her mother's horrifying face suddenly appears in front of her. The shock is too much for Yuli to handle, and she faints on the spot. The next morning, the police rescue her. But then, she learns the most painful truth of her life. Both her mother and father died that night, leaving her completely alone. While Yuli is still in shock, a woman named Aber arrives and claims to be her father's wife. At first, this sounds impossible, but it turns out to be true. Yuli is devastated after realizing that her father had another family. Now, with no one else left to care for her, Yuli is forced to live with her stepmother, Aber. 20 years later, Yuli still lives in Aber's house, but she is not treated like a family member. Instead, she is treated like a maid. Aber has become old and is now confined to a wheelchair, while her daughter Laris controls the entire house. Laris is married and has 2 children. Laris's eldest daughter, Tika, studies at an Islamic school. One day, while learning the Quran, she hears about 2 books called Sijin and Ilian. The teacher explains that Sijin is where angels record evil deeds, while Ilian is where angels record good deeds. After this, the scene shifts to Laris's son, who is inside Aber's room. He is playing with a Ouija board, which is believed to be a portal for communicating with spirits. He is completely focused on the board when the door suddenly opens. For a moment, he thinks some spirit has entered the room, but it is only Yuli. Tika also follows her inside and tries to stop her brother from playing with the board. But the boy is obsessed with talking to the dead. He asks Yuli whether she has ever wanted to speak to someone who died. Yuli quietly replies that when her parents died, she desperately wanted to talk to them. Hearing this, Aber suddenly becomes furious. She grabs Yuli in anger and shakes her violently. Then she says that whatever happened to Yuli's parents was deserved because they were punished for their actions. But right after saying this, Aber's health suddenly collapses. Blood gushes from her mouth, and she spits it directly onto Yuli's face. Within moments, Aber dies in terrible pain. Soon, Aber's funeral is held, and Laris mourns deeply for her mother. Yuli stands there silently, realizing that despite all the pain and cruelty, Aber was still part of her family. For a moment, Yuli tries to process her emotions. But as she moves closer, she remembers all the years Aber tortured and humiliated her. Suddenly, Yuli imagines Aber opening her eyes and telling her to die. Terrified by this vision, Yuli screams loudly. Seeing this, Laris becomes furious. She slaps Yuli in front of everyone and scolds her for creating a scene at the funeral. Days pass, and life slowly returns to normal. Yuli continues working at Laris's shop. One day, when Yuli tries to return some borrowed money, Laris accuses her of stealing. Without listening to her explanation, Laris slaps Yuli in front of everyone. As people gather around, Laris publicly insults Yuli's character and humiliates her even more. Deeply hurt by this insult, Yuli's pain, grief, and anger become unbearable. She finally decides that she can no longer stay silent. Yuli asks her coworker Yano for help. Yano takes her to a secluded shaman. Filled with rage, Yuli shows the shaman a photo of Laris's family and says that she wants to destroy the entire family. The shaman looks at her and asks if she wants to destroy them, just like she destroyed Aber. This reveals the shocking truth. Aber's death was not natural. It was caused by Yuli's black magic. The shaman then begins the ritual. He recites dark incantations, burns the family photo, and presses the ashes into Yuli's hand, burning her skin. Then he tells her that the magic now belongs to her. But he warns her that this spell will not be easy. To complete it, they need a fresh corpse. Yuli tells him not to worry because she will get one. That night, Yuli asks Yano to help her dig up Aber's body from the grave. Together, they take the corpse to the shaman. The shaman sends Yano away, then gives Yuli a black hen and tells her to slaughter it and collect its blood. Yuli obeys the shaman's command and slaughters the black hen. The shaman then takes the blood and pours it over a severed goat's head. After that, he adds goat hair and black buffalo skin into the ritual mixture. He writes the names of the targets on pieces of paper and dips them into the dark mixture. Then, he applies it to Aber's corpse. As the shaman continues chanting, Aber's dead mouth slowly opens. Now, Yuli wraps the written names inside the animal skin and places them into the corpse's mouth. The shaman then gives her a serious warning. She must complete the ritual before the body starts decomposing. If she fails, and the corpse rots before the ritual is finished, the spell will turn back on her. This means the same curse she sent to destroy others will return and destroy her instead. Meanwhile, Tika is praying in her room when she suddenly sees a ball of fire outside her bedroom window. The lights begin to flicker, the window panes shatter, and a terrifying creature enters her room. During her prayer, Tika hears her grandmother's voice. She becomes extremely scared, but Yuli quickly comes there and calms her down, convincing her to go back to sleep. Tika is deeply shaken by this incident. Soon, it is revealed that similar strange things have also happened to her brother. Both of them try to convince Laris that the house is haunted, but Laris refuses to believe them. Tika's brother then says that he used the Ouija board, and Grandma actually spoke to him through it. He even says that the board shook by itself. Hearing this, Tika becomes even more disturbed. Unable to understand what is happening, Tika goes to her teacher for help. Her teacher explains that dead people cannot return to this world. If someone sees a dead person after death, it is not really their spirit. It is a demon taking their form. That night, everyone goes to a fair, while Yuli continues her dark ritual in secret. She writes another name, wraps it in skin, cuts a piece of flesh from Aber's corpse, and places the name inside it. Then she seals everything using nails. At the same time, the little boy is still playing with the Ouija board. Suddenly, a message appears on the board, telling him to come to Grandma. The boy becomes horrified. Then, without warning, a worm enters his ear, causing unbearable pain. He starts screaming and twisting in agony. Tika hears her brother's cries and rushes to help him, but the door does not open. When she finally forces it open, she sees something horrifying. Her brother is using the Ouija board to hit his own head. Then, before Tika can stop him, he takes a broken shard and slits his own throat, killing himself. At the funeral, Yano, the man who helped Yuli, confronts her. He asks if all of this is happening because of the shaman, and whether Yuli is the one doing it. But Yuli coldly replies that it is not because of her. According to her, they are simply being punished for their sins. Broken by her brother's death, Tika visits her teacher again. She is crying and completely terrified. The teacher tells her to pray at midnight and ask for peace. That night, Tika begins praying alone at midnight. But while she is praying, another voice suddenly whispers, "Amen." Tika freezes in fear. She is completely alone in the room, yet someone has answered her prayer. The next day, Yuli chooses her next target, Laris's husband. She bites her own finger and pretends to be injured, just so she can get close to him. This time, the man seems strangely interested in Yuli. When Laris scolds Yuli, her husband gets angry and defends her. This creates a fight between the couple. He asks Laris why she always scolds Yuli. Laris becomes shocked and asks why he is suddenly defending her. She even questions whether Yuli has cast some kind of spell on him. The man becomes angry and leaves. Later that night, Yuli approaches him again and slowly lures him into her room. Meanwhile, Laris calls him again and again, but he does not answer. Inside the room, Yuli completely seduces him. Afterward, Yuli begs him to leave Laris and be with her, but he refuses. This hurts Yuli deeply, and when he insults her character, her anger becomes uncontrollable. Furious, Yuli watches him leave. But unknown to her, Tika has seen everything. Now, Tika understands the truth about Yuli and what she is doing. Wanting revenge, Yuli performs another ritual, this time targeting Laris's husband. She writes his name and places it inside Eber's corpse. At that same moment, the man feels a sharp pain and starts vomiting blood in the bathroom. Suddenly, a worm enters his eye and begins crawling under his skin toward his nose. The worm then moves toward his other eye. He can feel it moving inside his face. In panic, he tries to remove it by force, but he accidentally pops out his own eye. In complete terror, Laris's husband suddenly sees a figure that looks exactly like Eber. He becomes so frightened that he loses his balance, slips, and hits his head hard. Within seconds, he dies on the spot. Hearing the loud crash, Laris rushes to the bathroom and tries to open the door. But the door is locked from the inside. Soon, the family discovers his death, and they are completely devastated. Meanwhile, Yano finally realizes that Yuli is behind all these deaths. He confronts her and tells her that he does not want to be responsible for her crimes anymore. But Yuli becomes furious after hearing this. Since Yano now knows the truth and refuses to support her, she decides to make him her next target. Yuli performs the same dark ritual on him. Soon, the spell begins to affect Yano. Every time he tries to close the shop shutter, it suddenly flies open by itself. Terrified, Yano enters the shop to check what is happening. Inside, he sees the same demonic figure that the others saw before their deaths. Yano tries to run away through the shutter. But just as he steps out, the shutter suddenly slams down with brutal force, crushing his head and killing him instantly. Yuli has already killed many people, but the one person who tormented her the most is still alive. So now, she finally targets Laris. As Yuli begins the ritual against Laris, the scene cuts to Tika. Suddenly, Tika's ceiling collapses, and the lights begin flickering violently. Terrified, Tika runs to her mother's room. But when she enters, she is shocked to see Laris looking like a demon. Laris is possessed by the spirit sent through Yuli's black magic. When Laris sees Yuli, she screams that Yuli will die. Tika quickly locks herself inside a room and calls her teacher for help. The teacher immediately tells them that Laris must be taken away and treated spiritually. In the middle of this panic, Tika notices Yuli behaving strangely and disappearing into the darkness. Suspicious, Tika secretly follows her. While Yuli is busy with the ritual, Tika watches from the shadows and discovers the horrifying truth. Yuli has been using black magic with their grandmother's corpse. Tika immediately confronts her, and this time, Yuli confesses everything. To justify her actions, Yuli asks Tika whether she truly thinks she is wrong. Then she reveals the painful truth from her past. Yuli says that she was the one who was wronged first. According to her, Tika's grandmother used black magic to kill Yuli's parents right in front of her eyes. After that, Yuli says they tortured her for years. So now, in her mind, everyone in that family must pay for what they did. After saying this, Yuli leaves. Meanwhile, the scene cuts to Tika's teacher, who begins performing an exorcism on Laris. At the same time, Yuli tries to complete her spell. But every time she tries to sew the name into the corpse, it rips open and injures her again and again. This is happening because the exorcism is weakening Yuli's magic. Slowly, Eber's corpse begins to decay rapidly. The shaman had already warned Yuli that the ritual must be completed before the corpse decomposes. But now, her magic has failed. As predicted, the black magic turns back on Yuli. Her fingers begin to twist unnaturally, and she starts vomiting blood. The spirits she summoned now attack her instead. They turn against her and brutally kill her using iron nails. Meanwhile, Laris vomits black blood and worms from her mouth. As the worms spread around her, she slowly regains consciousness. The moment she comes back to herself, Laris apologizes to Tika. She understands that all this tragedy happened because, years ago, she and her mother wronged Yuli's parents. Laris has paid the price, but her family has already suffered too much. In her final moments, she begs her daughter for forgiveness and dies. In the post-credits scene, we see Laris's funeral. With everyone gone, Tika is now left completely alone in the world. She prays for the dead and asks for the strength and courage to survive by herself. And with this painful ending, the movie comes to an end.